President Strawn, we're ready when you are. I'm going to hit record, okay?
Okay, I see a Sophia here, and is that Angela and Aviva down there? So we have four, right?
Correct.
Okay. I'm not sure about Tom or Gio. I would expect Councilman Burns. So I guess either way, we're good to go. So, okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Binghamton City Council work session for Monday, August 1st, 2022. Please stand for the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America
and to the
republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice
for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. I apologize. I was planning to be down there right until the last minute. I had something come up at home and thought, well, just use the modern technology. So it seems to be working okay. So looks like everything is set. Mr. Clerk, can you do a roll call for us?
Councilman Scaringi appears to be absent. Councilwoman Resnetti?
Present.
Councilwoman Riley?
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman?
Present.
Councilman Burns appears to be absent as well. Councilman Scanlon is also absent. And President Strawn.
Present.
So that's how many absent is that? Is that three?
Three.
We have Scaringi, Burns, and Scanlon absent.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. So I see Dan on the line. We will get right into it. We have Dan Merkel with RL 22190.
Yes, is that for the vehicles, Phil?
Yeah. It's to amend 02192 and 101 to purchase additional garbage and plow trucks.
Yes, the plow trucks we were getting, I was getting one large one, which was a Freightliner. It was like the size of an 8-ton. We couldn't get that until March of 24.
Wow.
But the smaller plow truck we put in for, they had two on a lot that we can have by January. And that's like a 5-ton truck, which we use quite a bit on the hills. It's 4-wheel drive. We use it all year round. It's a great truck. So I switched over to get those two instead of the big one. It saved us about $100,000. But the thing with the garbage trucks they were ordered by John Paddock last year. We're supposed to take them in possession of them here at the end of August. The back end, the Packer part, they increased the price to like $18,000 a piece. With all this economy stuff going on. I went to Corp Council. I talked to Brian, and we can beat it probably if we fight it in the long run because we already signed for those trucks. But he said, those trucks will be sold and we'll be out of 3 garbage trucks that we need. So we need to use the money that I'm saving on the plow truck to put towards the garbage trucks.
Okay. I saw Councilman Burns make a note, but I guess he stepped out. He must be coming back. Any questions or comments for Dan on RL 22190?
And also, Phil, just to mention, we lost 3 trucks last year. They'd had enough. They're old trucks. So we lost 3 plow trucks last season. By me getting these 2 550 plows, I didn't realize we had a Freightliner coming, which was the big truck I had to cancel this year. We have one coming. It should be here by January. So we'll have those 3 trucks to replace the 3 that we lost.
Oh, so there was one already on order that we will get before.
Right. There was one on order from last year that I didn't know about until just recently.
Okay.
So, and it's the exact same truck that I was going to order. Okay. So it fell right in my lap. I got lucky with that one.
So that might have worked out.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Councilmember Friedman. I think that's you. Go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you. I'm wondering if we purchase the smaller trucks, will we eventually have a need for the larger truck somewhere down the line?
Well, yes, probably in a year or two, probably 2 years. We might have to purchase one, but by then I'll look at other options. There was no way we could just wait, go through 2 winters before I get a big plow to replace what we're losing, because we'd be down, a plow, and God knows we need everything we got because there's some old equipment. So yes, down the line, we probably would order another 1 or 2 to replace a few older ones, but the ones we have now will make it through this next 2 seasons.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Riley, I think, get your hand up there. Go ahead.
Council President, I think we need another way to notify you here in the Zoom hybrid world.
Yeah.
Hi, Dan, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. So just to clarify for those that may be at home, the one that was on order was already allocated resources in the budget. What we're
Correct.
doing here is amending the order for 1 large dump truck, but instead buying 2 lower cost vehicles and returning funds to purchase a garbage truck. And
Yes. well,
overall saving the city $103,000. Is
Right,
that correct?
Correct. But that $103,000, it comes down to about 50,000 savings, because the 50 is going to go towards the back end of the garbage trucks.
Okay.
So
And in
we'll
terms
still-
of, oh, go ahead.
We'll still
Go
be
ahead.
in the positive as far as saving money.
Perfect. And we are in need of dump trucks. I mean, not dumps, I'm sorry, garbage trucks.
Oh, yes, yes. We're in need of good. That's very bad need right there.
Okay.
These trucks are very old, and these 3 we have been waiting on, they're really needed, and we just can't lose them. And if we don't pay that little bit extra for that back end, we're going to lose them.
Okay, so clarify for me. I thought we had a contract with an external vendor for garbage. Why do we need a city garbage truck?
No, these garbage trucks are the ones that were ordered last year. And we paid and we had a contract with these garbage trucks, but because of everything going up in inflation and what's going on, the vendor for the back end of the truck, because it's 2 different vendors, he raised the price by $18,000 a piece. And he said, if you don't like it, I'll sell them this week. I mean, obviously I talked to the Corp Council. We're not going to do business with these guys again. Okay. That's not a good move that they did towards the city of Binghamton. So we're leaning away from doing business with them again. But if we lose these trucks, we'll be in really bad shape.
Okay, but again, just to clarify for our residents and our constituents, for our garbage services, we have an external vendor, but these garbage trucks are for city business. Is that
No,
not
we
correct?
don't have an external vendor. We do all the garbage.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yes, we pick up all the garbage and all the yard waste in the city. Nobody comes from the outside to help us.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Riley, what we have is, try to explain a little bit what Dan's saying is, we buy a truck, okay, that's the front and like a little metal piece on the back. And then we buy the garbage truck that crushes all the stuff and put that on top. The crusher is what's costing us all the extra money. Okay, and it took a while to get the actual truck here before we could put the crusher on there. What I think you may be confusing about is, we take the garbage to the landfill, we take the trees and stuff to a place in Conklin, I believe, right, Dan?
Yes, Bones.
And then
yeah.
all the recycling goes to Vestal, Taylor, okay, but we collect everything. Where we send it is 3 different spots.
Yes, correct.
However, we did contract when we needed extra help with other vendors, and I wanted to make sure the residents knew that there was a difference between a continued relationship and an emergency-based service that we're depending on external contractors,
Okay.
which is why we're allocating resources towards it. It's similar to what we kind of talked about during the winter, because there were times we were renting or with those plows, remember?
Yes. Yep.
And there was a lot of confusion out in the community about if we owned our own trucks, or are we dependent upon external contractors? So again, I'm only going to focus on the garbage trucks because we're talking about that now, because again, there was a lot of hubbub, and this is the place to clarify how we're allocating our resources So the city is aware, our residents are aware. And there's a difference when we reach out to external vendors to support the needs of the city.
Dan, one last thing. I think we were buying one large truck and one small truck originally, and we turned this big one into a small one and saved the money from that to buy everything else, I thought.
Yes, that's correct. And I explained also that large truck that we're not getting. If we decided to move forward with the purchase of that, you would have to wait till March of 2024 to get it.
Yep.
Which isn't going to help us for the next 2 snow seasons. And the truck that we are getting, the 2 smaller trucks, are very, very, they help us out a lot in the hills in the smaller streets because the bigger trucks can't get down it. So we use those quite a bit.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions for Dan on RL 22-190? Okay, thank you, Dan.
Yep, you're welcome.
Before we move on, just real quickly, I can see pretty good, but for some reason, I don't. Just feel free just to politely speak up and don't necessarily wait for me. If for some reason I don't see you down there to raise your hands, I don't want to hold anybody up from any questions. So,
And Mr. President,
yeah, go ahead.
it's Joe Burns. I'm here.
No, hey, Joe. Yes,
Okay.
Councilman Burns is officially here. Thanks, Councilman Burns. Okay. Do we have, I see Dr. Burling on the agenda next, RL 22-191. Is she here or a representative for her?
I'm here.
Okay. Oh, you're down there. Great. All right, cool. Good to see you. Thanks, Dr. Burling. Go ahead with the RL 22-191.
All right. Well, we already have a lease agreement with Metro Interfaith to use those 2 lots for a community garden, 22 and 24 New Street. They would like to fence the gardens for, I guess they're having some issues with people vandalizing. So they'd like to fence the gardens as Vines has fenced the other gardens. But because it's FEMA property, they can't put the fences on the property, but they can attach to already existing fences. So the front of the fence would occupy about 6 inches of the sidewalk, which is a standard 5-foot sidewalk. So I would like to just have that added to their lease as an addendum to allow them to place the front fence along 6 inches of the sidewalk in front of their garden. And it would attach to fences that are either owned by Metro, the adjoining property is owned by Metro Interfaith, or already existing fences, which we're allowed to do with FEMA. We just can't install any new permanent, I guess, structures on FEMA property, which this is. These properties were purchased for the FEMA buyout and demolished. And they're to be forever green.
Okay. Yeah, that's too bad to hear. I can sit on my back porch and watch people using those gardens. It's very nice to see and very enjoyable. I have not seen any vandalism in person, but that's unfortunate. But that street is kind of dead down there anyway, so I don't think 6 inches of sidewalks dead in the sense of, well, it is dead ends at 434. So I don't think 6 inches of sidewalk is going to hurt anything down there. That would be my thought. Unfortunate if this is the reason that they have to do it, but it shouldn't be a horrible spot to do that. Any other questions or comments for Dr. Burling on RL 22-191? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Julian.
Okay, Mr. Carson, RL 22-192.
Hi, is this the lead safety one?
The 15,000 CDBG funds to lead risk assessment.
Was it 15,000 or 5,000?
It says 15 on the agenda, but I didn't look. I'm not looking at the actual. I'm just looking at the agenda part.
I didn't think it was 100. I didn't think we were doing 150 of those.
15,000.
15,000. Okay, I'll have to review that obviously before you guys make final decision on that. But this involves lead safety. We just want to move some funds from the housing rehab and home purchase fund to the lead testing line. This doesn't require an amendment to the action plan. It's staying within housing activities. But the issue is that we've sort of geared up our rehab program after COVID. And we haven't taken into account that we haven't funded lead in a while because we had so much in there from past years, but we're getting to the point where we're gonna need to have additional lead testing money for each of the rehab programs. So that's the goal here is to put some of that money into lead testing for our standard rehab program.
Okay. Any questions or comments on RL 22-192 from Mr. Carson?
This is Councilwoman Riley.
Go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Carson. How are you doing?
Good. All right. How you doing?
Good. We don't have any of the background paperwork that is associated with this RL. So can you tell us what is this risk assessment? Who will be responsible for it? What do you have anything you can add to this proposal?
So for a rehab program, for it to function at all, because of the source of the funding, all code violations must be met. And because it's federal money, all lead issues must be met as well. So that involves prior to rehab work, going through, doing testing to see where there's potential lead safety issues. That in and of itself can change the nature of the rehab program. So for example, if there's kids in the property, we may change the nature of exactly how we're going to do rehab work. Because sometimes you can stabilize, but sometimes you have to fully remediate. So the lead testing does an initial test, and then once all rehab work's done, they go through and do a final lead test to see if there's still visible lead that could present a hazard to anyone, specifically kids.
Absolutely. So what I'm asking specifically, this is money we're requesting from CDBG, and is this where private rehabbers can request financial support for their own rehabilitation projects, or is this to support the city's rehabilitation project?
This is to support the city's rehab program.
Okay. And we don't have funding in the budget for those rehab programs to support the process to bring those homes back on the tax rolls? Is this is the best source of funds for this part of the process?
Normally we would do it through the regular CDBG amendment to the action plan. But since you have to get that going many months ahead, sometimes things like this can occur where we don't realize that something's been left out or the situation changes on the ground. So essentially this is taking from the money that potentially could go towards a housing project, but no more. It would be, let's say a third of a full rehab project, or even 3 first-time homebuyer projects. But it's kind of necessary, and there's essentially no other source of these funds for this. It has to be done for every rehab project.
Okay, and this received full support of our I'm messing up today. Our CDBG representatives, so they vetted this proposal and it's moving now to council?
We have not taken this to CDAC. Generally, we don't take an item like this to CDAC directly.
Okay. The reason I ask is because ultimately they vet initially the entire budget for CDBG, and they prioritize the project amongst themselves, and then we hear the proposals. So then when something like this comes along, I wonder how it fits in the grand scheme of the grand proposals. And does this then take away funds from something that, again, they prioritize higher in terms of their own review and assessment of what the community needs?
Well, the money still falls under housing purchase or rehab. This is simply, instead of doing a straight up rehab, this is augmenting our other rehab. If that makes sense. It's not, we're not taking money from housing to put it to non-housing use. this is still housing related money.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That concludes my questions.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on RL 22-192 from Mr. Carson?
I double checked the numbers, and yes, that was 15,000 is correct. That'll do approximately slightly over 15 of our rehabs, the lead testing for slightly 15 of our rehabs, which from Pete in my office, that's approximately how many he anticipates before the beginning of the next fiscal year, which would be September 1st, 2023.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments on RL 22-192? Okay, thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Sarah with us, RL 22-193.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
This is 22-193. This is a resolution to approve. It's essentially all one loan for $250,000 to Claw Industries. It's broken up into two separate loans, from two separate accounts, but for all intents and purposes will function as one loan. This is to support part of a larger project that Claw is doing to be able to scale up their operations at their Griswold Street location. I will flag that the loan is contingent upon Claw getting the rest of their financing. They're currently working with several different banks to determine where that financing will come from, but this will enable them to be more flexible when that financing comes in. We'll have everything set up on our end, but it will be contingent upon them getting that other financing. I'm happy to take any other questions.
Okay, questions or comments for Sarah on 22-193? RL 22-193?
This is Councilwoman Riley. I don't have a question, but I just wanted to highlight, and I know I'm going to mess it up, but this company was the winner of the competition the city sponsored with. You all help me. What did they win?
The Binghamton Local Development Corporation Annual Business Plan Competition. They won the
Absolutely.
2021 competition.
Absolutely. So I wanted to make sure we tied that in so that, again, our constituents understand that these young men have a novel idea. They won the competition. We're trying to support them. And this ties into that press release that our constituents typically get before we get legislation. So I just wanted to tie it all together with a pretty bow. Thank you.
I'll just flag that resolution or that press release is unrelated to this loan. They're two separate things. Just want to flag that.
Okay, any other questions or comments on RL 22-193? Okay, thank you, Sarah. Have a good night. Thank you. Okay, looks like Megan is with us. RL 22-194.
Thanks, Councilman Strawn. So this is to extend the agreement between the city and the school district for school resource officers at Binghamton High School and the middle schools. Council last approved an extension in August 2021. This one's for the 22-23 school year. There have been no changes to the agreements outside of the mayor's name and the dates on the contract.
Okay. Questions or comments on RL 22-194? Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, you saw me.
Yep.
Hi, Megan. How are you?
Hi, council member. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. So it was hard to hear the last thing that you said. Did you say that there have been no changes in this, or have there been changes in this contract? And this is simply an extension duplicating this agreement for the following year?
Nope. So this is essentially the same contract that council approved last year. The only difference is last year was obviously Mayor David's name, that the name's been updated to Mayor Cram's, and then the dates for this year reflect that it's for the 22-23 school year.
Okay, so just logistically, the name of the mayor has changed and the year has changed, but everything else remains the same?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Your questions or comments on RL 22-194 for Megan? Okay. Thank you.
Actually, I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Councilman Burns. I apologize.
Yeah. Megan, I know down in Vessel, they have SRO officers at the elementary schools. And, you know, that thing that happened in Texas was an elementary school. Then, a couple of the major shootings have been elementary schools. And I'm just wondering, I don't know if you have the answer or not, is why we don't have an SRO at the elementary schools.
The school district hasn't approached us about that, Councilman Burns. I can't really speak any further to it than that, but I know we started with an SRO at the high school, and then several years later, they requested one at each of the middle schools, and that's where we're at with them right now.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else on RL 22-194? Okay, thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Looks like Joe was talking to Chuck. We have Chuck Shager for looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 RLs. So there's no reason not to. We'll go in order. Chuck, RL 22-195 and 196.
Yep. The first one is our purchasing agent left us, went to the sewage treatment plant, and we're in the process of hiring a new one. And we're going to change the hours at position from a 7-hour work day to an 8-hour work day. That has to be changed in the charter, and that's what was it 195 is doing. 196 is increasing the salary from the current position through the end of the year by $158.46 per pay period. There's 10.5 left. And that total amount is $1,663.83. This person's going to come from another department, and they're going to do part of their other job through the end of the year. So that's what the stipend's for. Any questions?
Okay, Councilmember Friedman, is that your hand up there?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, President Strawn. So my question, Chuck, is this stipend will be only for this year, presumably?
It's probably going to be changed in the budget. Being
Okay, so
but that other position hopefully will be filled by then. Okay, and we have to figure out the salary during the budget process.
I see. Okay, so this person is moving toward being permanently the purchasing agent, and their current position will be open, and that's what will be hopefully filled by a new person.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, and so let's say theoretically it's not filled, and I hope that doesn't happen, but let's just say, then would the stipend be or like how would we do that? Would that be like a salary
Well,
increase?
We haven't
or how
really
would that
given
work?
that a thought, and I'll tell you why. There's a few people that are interested in that other position that the other department's looking at.
Okay, I'm not gonna speak it into existence. I hope that position is filled. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on RL 22-195 and 196? Okay, thanks, Chuck. RL 22-197.
197 is a continuation of a legislation we passed back in April 6th, where we're taking everything from trust accounts to, or what they call TA accounts to custodial accounts. Okay. When I did that one, I forgot to move the actual money over. So this is just moving that money over so you can see the different trust accounts we have: ACA Memorial, Kaboom Rebuild, 9/11 Memorial, all the items listed there, and the dollars. We're just transferring them from the TA fund to the TC fund.
All right, just some accounting formalities. Any questions or comments for Chuck on RL 22-197? Okay, go on to 22-198.
198 is to use some more ARPA money for water and sewer projects. As we're getting down near the end of the projects this year, we realize we're going to be short roughly $350,000 in sewer line money and $50,000 in water lines. This is utilizing those funds so we can finish those projects. There was a couple projects that came in definitely higher than anticipated. The biggest one will be over on Glenwood Ave on the first ward. But the other ones with all the prices going up this year have been a little higher, including asphalt. Any
Okay,
questions?
go ahead. Any questions on RL 22-198 for Chuck?
I have an ARPA question,
Go ahead.
On
Councilman.
an updated report?
not an updated report, but we got another 13 million from the state to add to our 46. Is that correct?
Not that I've seen.
I know you haven't seen it, but the governor announced it, right?
I have not heard that.
Really?
Hmm.
I saw it, let's put it, I saw it on the news. Did you see it in the news?
No, I didn't.
You didn't? I know she announced that she was dispersing millions of dollars to cities and towns. And I saw, I think on WNBF or
That
something.
Binghamton was getting 13 million?
That's what
I haven't heard that, but I will certainly.
yeah.
Let's
Okay,
hope-
well,
let's hope you're right, Councilman Burns. That would be great.
yeah, it better be right now. Okay, all right. Maybe it was $13. That's great.
We will keep our eyes open for 13 million. Absolutely. All right. Anything else for any of Mr. Chuck Sager's RLs tonight? Okay. Thank you, Chuck.
Council President, can I just make one comment?
Absolutely.
For you?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
There's a few, I'm gonna believe residents in the chambers tonight, and we have no security downstairs. I think if we're gonna allow residents in here, we should have security. At least when I came in, there was no security there. I don't know if anybody else saw anybody.
Yeah, I agree. I can't see that. I can only see the big, the big.
There's
Big
two
role.
people here. Not that it's any of them is wrong. I'm just, it does set up the potential of a problem at some point down the road if we didn't bring security back.
Yep. Okay. I definitely agree. Not that I'm sure they're fine, and not that it's not nothing for them personally, I'm assuming, but but it is an issue. We've had a couple people down for, not for a work session though. That's the first time for a work session. So, okay, I'll work with the administration and corporate counsel on that just to see what we should do for that. Okay, Mr. Seacrest is going to lead us in a discussion that the mayor asked him to do on a couple items as we move forward in our agenda year. You ready to do that, Brian? Can you guys hear me down there?
Is Brian talking? I can't hear anything.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm asking. Brian, can you?
Okay.
Can you guys
How's
hear
that?
me?
Is that better?
Yes, much better.
Yes,
Okay, thank
you. Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead. Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
There's two proposals that we're bringing down tonight. We're actually not bringing it to you folks, but we're asking that you make a referral to planning commission. So that before it can be adopted, the matters have to be referred to the planning commission to get their comments. So tonight we just asked for it to be on the agenda so there could be a referral to the planning commission. So get that the next month meeting for there.
Absolutely. Point of order, though. We didn't receive any information in our mailboxes
Okay.
about the specific language. We had to, again, rely upon a press release.
Okay.
So I feel we're not adequately prepared to really have a fruitful discussion.
Okay.
Because it was not here.
Okay. Well, the other item that I would point out is that usually what happens is after it's referred to the planning commission and they review it, that's often when we turn it back, because if they have, it'll change. Or if they have what they suggest it gets changed.
Are you asking for counsel tonight?
We're asking that the two matters, that the proposal for the zoning for cannabis and the proposal for the changes for the definition of family and the district changes, that they be referred to the planning commission so they can be referred to next month's planning commission meeting.
Correct,
And then
but
it'll be
we
brought
don't,
back
ha-
to the
but we
board.
don't have it. And we don't know what specifically is being asked, only through this verbal conversation.
I think Juliet is raising her hand.
Go ahead, Dr. Brown.
This is actually Tito. I'm on Juliet's line, Tito
Uh-huh.
Martinez. I just wanted to let Brian know that I'm here and let council know that I'm here and I can try to answer any questions you might have.
So so let me just ask this, the formal discussion in essence on our end would be when we got it back from planning later on, correct?
Yes, you would,
That's correct.
yes.
So right now, is there an actual action or is it something that we have to take? I mean, what's the formality of it that we would do now?
Just that there would be an authorization to send it to the planning commission for review. It would be the proposed change to the definition of family, or actually the functional equivalent of a family, and the proposed zone changes from R1 to R2 and R2. There's proposed minor zone changes. And then that map will be reviewed by planning commission, and they might make changes or referrals, and then it'll be shipped back to the city council for its consideration. Mr. Chairman, I think.
Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. So my question is, what is the typical process that something like this would go through? Would it come to council for referral and then like Corp Council would draft the actual legislation and then it would go to the planning
There'd be a
commission and back
draft of
up?
the legislation, and there is a draft, there's some draft language that the planning commission will have to review.
Okay.
They will then comment on it, and then they'll either, sometimes they say they give their approval just as is. Sometimes they say, well, this should be changed, or that should be changed, or this should be added, or that should be taken out. And then it comes back to the planning commission, comes back to the city council for its review. And at that point, you can either sign it out and bring it to the floor and vote for it or not vote.
Right. So the planning commission would be the first ones to see the fully formed legislation.
Yeah.
Which they can, so city council typically would not see it until the planning commission.
I'm not sure if that's typical or not.
Okay.
I haven't been through that process.
If I could, what I would say is that the planning commission is the first body that takes any sort of discretionary action on legislation involving rezoning. In the past, the map or the text amendment would be included in the work session packet, but council wouldn't act on that anyway. They would just sort of make a motion or go ahead and refer it to the planning commission. And then when it comes back to the next work session, council typically would deliberate at that point.
That has been the practice.
Okay. So does that draft exist yet?
My understanding is that there's a draft. Cheeto, do you have a draft?
There is a draft. Yep. There is a draft and there is a tentative map as well.
Okay, so I know that the cannabis rezoning has been available for public comment on the website. I haven't seen anything formal regarding the student or the rather, I shouldn't say student, the rezoning from our sorry, I don't know the form, the functional family rezoning in essence. And even, I don't think that the cannabis legislation has been in our packets officially. I mean, I just had I think I opened the link from my email or something, but yeah, so I think I agree with Councilwoman Riley. I understand that we're not taking any action right now, but it does, I think it would benefit not only the public who are following along the city council agendas, but also the city council members. You know, I would hope that the first time that we're seeing this legislation wouldn't be when we are necessarily asked to sign it out. Just based on the fact that it exists already. I would have wanted to have it in this packet. I'm wondering if we can be made available, or rather that draft can be made available to us. Understanding that we're not taking any action on it, but just for our information.
Councilwoman Riley again, particularly when, and this is why I keep bringing up the timing, press release legislation, because our constituents call us immediately And if we're not apprised, if we're not read into what's happening, we can't adequately provide a response. And if there is draft language and we're expected to reply, refer, or recommend, whatever the language is, as elected officials, we should be apprised of that information. We should be given the information because we are held accountable for knowing this information, particularly when there are even council members quoted in the press releases. So I just ask that, again, if we're going to have a discussion, there should be something that we're given to have a discussion.
I think that the agenda uses the word discussion, but what we asked for was that was put on to ask for referral to the planning commission.
Even a referral, we'd have to
Right.
know what we're referring.
Okay.
And a lot of my constituents were concerned about how the map was drawn, why the border in certain areas, it doesn't align with the green tree that was passed several years ago. There are so many questions.
Okay.
But I have nothing. And I thought we would have it. I asked Lee when I got here, I said, do we have an update? Right? And he said, no. So I still have nothing to refer or to give back to the number of constituents that have called about it, because this is District 3 that,
No,
okay,
Right,
thank you.
would we, I know this part is somewhat of a formality. We would not be holding anything up if Tito or whoever sent us something either tonight or tomorrow. And then we put even the referral part on the agenda for very briefly on Wednesday. Would that be a problem?
I do not believe it would be.
I don't want to hold planning up. I don't want to hold this up, but I'm not in complete disagreement with what Councilman Riley's saying, especially for not holding anything up. Because even though it's a formality, it is an action.
If you formally refer to the planning commission on Wednesday, that would still be sufficient time for it to appear on the planning commission's agenda on the 15th.
That's correct. And
Okay.
we can distribute the materials tomorrow, first thing in the morning. The final draft for the student housing and the final map for the student housing legislation was not done at the time that at the RL deadline. So that's the explanation for that.
Okay.
But we can
We can
distribute that tomorrow.
That's fair enough. Why don't we do that and then put it on, and then Mr. Clerk, I don't know if you're back at the camera, and then can we add that just as a very quick item? I'm not sure how we would list or what part you would put it in.
Yes, absolutely. We can add that in.
Okay, because then we could just make it formal, because we typically wouldn't vote or do anything. I don't know, typically at a work session. I guess we could, but it seems like that would be a more normal course of action anyway. If like I said, I don't want to hold anything up, and it appears that
Yeah, Mr. President,
wouldn't be. Go ahead.
would we then have a complete discussion on Wednesday at the end of the business meeting on this? Is that what, or are we still going to discuss this at all tonight? In both, I mean, the pot smoking and the.
I guess we could see what they send back. I mean, I do agree with the part that our real deep discussion is going to be after it gets discussed and then sent back to us. That's when the real rubber is going to hit the road,
Okay.
after planning.
That's what.
Yes, but don't, Tito might answer this. If the zoning commission gets something from us, they're assuming that we kind of approved what we're sending to them. Even though we're only referring the legislation, don't they think that we actually
No,
are referring it?
No, the referral does not necessarily equal any sort of endorsement. It's just you're referring it to sort of an expert body for their opinion before you all decide whether or not you sign it out.
Do we give an opinion at all?
Generally what we
reference,
tell them
referring?
is that the executive branch has proposed a change. It's been referred to city council, council's referred it for your opinion. You express your opinion, and then council is going to consider it and whether they want to adopt it or support it in its final form.
So for them to get, if I have an opinion that I want them to put in the legislation that they're going to send back to us.
Yep.
Can I go there and speak to them, or do they,
You could go and speak with them on the 15th, or you could
Right.
send them a note or send them a written
Right.
input if you want to.
Okay, thanks.
I have another question.
Definitely, you can send your constituents there. I mean, that's what the
Yeah.
purpose of the public meeting is.
Sure.
Now, it probably will not be here in person. It'll be online. But that link will be on the city's website.
Right.
When you go to the
Do
15th.
they meet here? Or they
No,
just
they do
on-
not.
They only meet,
They're only
virtually.
online.
okay.
And so that this referral that will occur on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Does it require a simple majority or 2/3?
I believe it's just a simple majority.
And the date of the meeting where we will have all of our constituents,
Is the 15th.
15th, and it's already on the calendar.
Yes.
I would also point out that there'll be additional, the planning commission will have a public hearing for the legislation, but then, of course, council will have, you all will have your own public hearing, so there'll be additional opportunity to comment even after the planning commission meeting.
And Tito, I don't know if I was clear, but I got a clear answer. So I'm on the zoning commission and I get this, oh, city council referred this to us, so they must like it. Is that, that's not true?
No, that's not correct. Referral from city council is just basically a request from whatever commission or agency you're referring the matter to, a request that they give you their opinion on it. So it's the first step before you all form your opinion. You want that sort of expert advice from the planning commission since it's a zoning matter.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's what we'll do. We'll look for that in the morning,
You
and
gotta
then
just say it.
clerks will add that to Wednesday.
We can hear you.
Oh, this is Councilmember Friedman.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So we're asking for this to be expedited, so we vote on Wednesday.
Well, it's not a, I don't think
Or
it's,
not, I'm sorry, not vote. That was not the correct language. Are we being asked to give a recommendation on Wednesday?
It's a referral.
it's a
A
referral.
referral,
It's not a
sorry. Okay.
recommendation. You're
Yeah, I don't
simply
wanna
asking
over-
for their comment.
I
Okay,
think
but
it's-
this is happening on
You know what?
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Maybe I should stop using the word referral, because referral infers that there's some kind of endorsement. What it really is you're making a request for a recommendation. You send it to them for their recommendation.
We're just asking them to look at it and then give their opinion, and they have their own public hearing, and then it's actually another step. So there'll be
Yeah.
2 public hearings.
But,
two
Right.
but
times.
without,
But regardless.
we're
this is happening,
referring
it's
something that
coming.
they're gonna say, oh, we're asking for their recommendation. But what if I don't recommend it? What if I want to send this to them and say, listen, look at this. The mayor sent down to us. I don't like it. And I'm wondering if you like it. You know, I mean,
You can definitely express that to them, and that's come through a number of times in referrals on other matters.
okay.
That
We can put
has
that
come
in.
through that's come through loud and
Can we
clear.
put
To
it
come
like
up.
each member has that when we're referring it, each member will have their own statement on their referral? Or does it just come across?
Not officially, but just you would have the opportunity to submit written or verbal comments at the public hearing, or you could submit a letter
Right.
before the public hearing too, but it
Okay.
wouldn't be part of the referral act itself.
Okay. All right, thank you.
But regardless, this is happening this coming Wednesday,
That's what we're
correct?
Yes.
In 2 days? Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
This is Councilwoman Riley again. You guys received one of the several letters I received as the representative for District 3, and I think it was very detailed. I think, again, that clarity is necessary because that was one letter that you all received, but I've received at least 10. Okay. So I encourage, I look forward to receiving the draft. So again, we're able to speak to what was shared.
I know that I received a number of calls asking for detail, and I declined to give them comments because I was like, until the planning commission has reviewed it, until it's gone to the city council for review and there's been public comment, I can't tell you what effect it's gonna have on any property, because right now what is proposed could change before. So I can't tell you what the long-term impact. I can tell you sort of in general bucking terms, what it's supposed to do or what it's intended purpose. I can't give you details on about specific properties.
Honesty, even that process you detailed tonight, I didn't have the ability to share.
Okay.
So we're gonna save all our questions till Wednesday on the actual.
Well, we're referring it. If we go too deep into this, we're going to actually do the opposite of what we're trying to do, and we're going to actually hold up the process, and we don't want to do that either.
The standard process is it comes down, it gets on the agenda. someone stands up, I make a motion that we refer this matter to, it gets referred to the planning commission, and it comes back a month later, and then you have a public meeting, and then you listen to the comment, they have a public meeting. They write back their input on that, the suggested legislation. Then you would have a public meeting, this local law, and then you would listen to the public again. And then you would be able to put your comments in, and whether you vote up or down, or whether there needs to be some kind of proposed amendments.
Okay. So we'll look for that tomorrow in the morning sometime, and hopefully that'll give us enough information to do what we need to do Wednesday and move the process forward, so that people can speak into it. Mr. Clerk, anything on pending legislation that's noteworthy for Wednesday? Any changes, anything we should be aware of?
Yes, we have these items here on pending legislation. One of them is the amendment to bond ordinance for the rec park tennis courts.
And we will have a public hearing on that, correct?
Yes, we'll have a public hearing on that.
Okay. Okay. Anything else tonight for the good of the order?
This is Councilmember Friedman.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. I was wondering if we could have our bi-weekly discussion about when the public will be officially allowed back into our meetings.
I'll let Brian or any of the corporate council representatives speak. I mean, my understanding is that we're officially extended till August 14th. It is highly unlikely that the governor will not extend it with the elections coming up, but that's not for sure. That's just my opinion. So, you know, my personal thought is that sometime after Labor Day, regardless of what she does, we should have a discussion about opening everything up back. But if we do that, then everybody's going to need to come down, I believe. Is that correct, Brian? If we decide to open everything back up?
Okay, yes. I'm wondering if we are able to have that conversation or start to have that conversation now so that after Labor Day comes, we'll be ready for in-person meetings again, if possible. I'm just saying this because I know I have constituents who are anxious to come back, and I know that it involves some logistical concerns like having security and you know, some legal considerations as well in terms of what does that mean for, you know, what kind of virtual participation is allowable. But I'm just, you know, I wanted to flag that as a prominent concern from my constituents. So I'm wondering if we could maybe get the ball rolling so we're prepared by Labor Day.
Is there anything legally, Brian, or any other members of corporate council, anything that weren't from the governor's office or anything that you've heard?
Typically we hear whether they're going to be granting extension about a day or several hours before it's due to expire. That's about as much warning as we get.
And right now it's technically August 14th. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Which would only be the day before another work session. Well, that's a Sunday. So, yeah, let's, well, that will be the day after. So that would be a good time. Mr. Clerk, why don't we add that as a formal discussion for August 15th? Okay. And
that sounds great.
And that'll be the day after, or we should know by the time of that.
We should know by then whether it's been extended or not.
Correct. So then we'll know for sure whether, you know, whether it's just on our option or whether it's being dictated otherwise. So, and I don't know, I guess that's just me being upstate New York, Binghamtonian, that when school starts back up, everybody seems to get back, and I guess we could do it anytime, but those would be the last August meetings. I don't think it'd be feasible. So it probably would be the first round, potentially in September, that we would look to do that anyway. And we could work with Lori and Chuck to see what it would take to get security back down there, or to do something else temporarily for security if we needed to.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think I would really appreciate that. And I mean, my personal opinion is that, you know, the virtual meetings were implemented as a COVID mitigation strategy. And now that we've pretty much given up every COVID mitigation requirement or like guideline except for having virtual meetings. And so I can understand why people are getting frustrated because it seems like, and I know it's a top-down decision, it comes from the governor's office, but it does seem like, I can understand from a constituent's point of view why this looks like we're trying to keep people out because at this point, it's become evident that it's no longer a COVID mitigation strategy and it's just like out of convenience, but convenience for some people, like people who want to zoom in, but then, it really does make a difference to have people in the room and not just like passive participants whose faces we can't even see on the Zoom screen. So it really is like difficult to really feel like we're asking our constituents to be involved in government. I can understand the frustration. So I look forward to our discussion on August 15th.
Yeah, I'm not in disagreement at all. I don't really understand why she's doing it. If it, like you said, if it's and the irony is that we passed some legislation to redo part of that room in order for people to feel comfortable being spaced out a little bit more.
Sure did.
So no, I'm not in disagreement with that at all. I would just as soon have people back under normal security conditions. So, I mean, I think, and in my opinion, we would move in that direction regardless of what the governor does sometime, early or mid-September, no matter what. That would be my personal opinion. So, okay. Tito, is that actually a hand raised on Zoom or is that just, am I just seeing things there? Is that?
I think that was raised about a half hour ago.
It is that, I just wanted to let you all know that I sent both pieces of legislation to the clerk so that he can send it to you all.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
We definitely appreciate that, Mr. Martinez. Thank you.
Thank you, Tito. See, I'm seeing the Zoom stuff now on this end too. So just in time for us to not use it anymore. Okay.
And this is
Go ahead, Sharon.
President, I'm sorry. And this is just as a reminder to both members of the council and also any members of the public who may be watching this. Right now, the public is to participate remotely, and that means whether or not it's watching meetings or speaking at meetings. While we make exceptions for public hearings due to the public's right to be heard, primarily due to the fact that sending people home after they came would deprive them of their right to be heard because of some confusion. Please remind your constituents that their participation will be virtually or remotely, not in person. Otherwise, we will have different people in the future because we have not planned to obtain security to the point Chuck raised earlier today.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon. Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn our work session for tonight?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
All right. We are adjourned.
No,
Have
we need
a
a second.
second?
I'll second.
Second? Councilman Burns, second.
Yeah.
We lost.
Second.
There's still four of us. I think Sophia had to step off. So, okay. Thank you, everyone. We're done. We will see you. We'll see you on Wednesday night.